Okay. I'm just double checking right now. I'm checking my YouTubids right here to make sure that the early late night live show is in fact live. Because
I don't see that it is.
Oh, I see it. I see it right up here.
We are live! Yay!
We are live.
Woo!
Coming up right now with Greg.
Oh, that's right.
Boggis.
There's a delay, so people will ask questions and post stuff. And anyway.
Yes, Bob Turn, Joe. Hello, Renee. Hello, Bob. Anyone in the green room? Well, hey, look, we apologize for the delay. 10-minute delay on the show. Very unusual for us to right now. But as you all know, we are just still trying to make this work this way in particular. This is the early late night live show. We are on every Wednesday night from 7, sometimes 7:10 to 8, live here thanks to Skype. Thanks to Dan the Man for making it happen. Dave Mills says, you got a haircut. Yes, that's like a 3-week-old joke now. You know, Dave Mills, just saying. But the special guest for this week's show is Greg Boggis. He is back. He is a comedian. He is a funny guy. You can find out more on his website, gregboggis.com. We will drop that in the comments section. You should definitely check it out. Very funny guy. And sitting with me always, unfortunately, in a cold, cold basement in which she was complaining very much about and snidely talking to Mitch. You do not know the troubles in which I am
It's
dealing
hard
with.
to feel sympathetic for somebody who's got to work outside all day in the sun in this gorgeous weather, and I'm like trapped in a frozen basement, like, you know, shaking my fists and rubbing my hands. No, I don't feel bad.
All right, okay, it makes sense. And Mitch Fortier, where are you? Mitch?
No, Mitch is
I
gone.
made him leave. Wow.
Oh, there he is.
MIA.
There he is, making an entrance.
I'm back. Sorry.
An entrance. Now, let us all just take a moment to comment on Mitch's shirt. Can you stand up, Mitch, and give us a little twirl with that shirt?
Oh.
It's a very nice shirt. Is that
It's like
It is a sweater. In the French fashion world, it is a sweater.
Sweater. Well, it looks like where Waldo would be hiding.
Get the very late 70s rugby look.
He did, yeah. You know, and Mitch has got that sort of British type of look. That would work, you know. So, but our favorite section of the show is in the beginning, so we can get rid of it. Is trailer trash. And Dan, wait a minute, Dan, you didn't download the trailers, right? Can you? Oh, you have them up. Okay. All right. Cool. Sweet. I apologize for some of this technical delay. I don't know about you guys, but we've been doing 6 shows or something like that. This is our 7th show through Skype, and as much fun as it is to not have to drive all the way back home and just go, bye guys, just fall asleep. You know, I miss the studio. I miss my couch.
I'm sure Dan misses it more right now.
Yeah. Dan misses it quite a bit. I miss my little buddy that usually sits on the shelf next to me, Adam West.
Not talking about me.
Not talking about you. No, you don't sit on the shelf. Hello, Jackie. Nice haircut, Terry. Again, have you guys not watched the past couple weeks' show? This is not a new thing. Anyways, what's the first trailer we have up, Arnie?
It's The Undoing. Hopefully we can play that. This is a new TV show by David E. Kelly, and it stars Nicole Kidman and Hugh Grant, and it's about the write-up is a life for a successful therapist in New York begins to unravel on the eve of publishing her first book. So,
David E. Kelly, didn't he do Boston Legal?
Yes, he did. Yeah. And Ally McBeal and Big Little Lies and The Practice. So he's done a lot, actually.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Ally McBeal, blast from the past.
Yeah.
Grow your hair back, Terry. Yeah, I'm working on it.
We all said that. Oh, I forgot. Don't do that, please.
Definitely gives a different impression. All right.
I should also say Donald Sutherland is in this.
Cool.
Yes.
Too.
Yes.
Done.
Yeah, he's like in everything, I feel. And he still creeps me out. He creeped me out when he was young. He creeps me out now. He just creeps me out.
All the way back to Animal House.
Yeah.
I really want to say this. Nicole Kidman looks like she hasn't aged in 20 years. Hugh Grant looks like he's aged a lot in the past 20 minutes.
You just stole my review of the trailer. I'm done.
Sorry.
Yeah.
She was married to Tom Cruise, right? So I wonder if they like swapped youth potions or something.
Well, Tom is along.
Well, who else? I mean, the detective in this too. I recognize that actor, the Hispanic actor. He's really good too.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm really interested in this. Unlike the thriller, and I'm gonna keep crapping on it, but that Chris Evans film show didn't look all that good. This felt like this is showing you absolutely nothing, really. Really is not showing you anything, and yet it is still very intriguing. Like I want to find out. I want to find out more. That's basically my 2 cents worth. I'm really interested in this series, and far be it for HBO to do a whole trailer with no sleaze in it. I was very shocked.
It is only a teaser, but even for HBO, that's still remarkable.
That's pretty impressive, yeah. Yeah. All right, Arnie, your thoughts on this trailer?
I agree with you. I at first was like, oh, this is intriguing. And then I tried to figure out why, and I couldn't accept, I'm like, well, maybe I'm just swayed by the fact Hugh Grant's in it. I don't know. But it is intriguing. And I had no idea what it was about until I read that little snippet like 10 minutes before the show started. And I still want to see it. So there's that.
All right. Mitch Fortier, your thoughts on this trailer?
The Hugh Grant, Nicole Kidman age comment, that was my opener.
I'm sorry. I didn't purposely steal that.
No, it's just the depth of my ability to review film trailers. That's all. But it actually looks really gorgeous in the sense that it's got a really intriguing look and feel to the whole thing. The trailer leads you to believe that there's a lot of complexity in what's going on, which I think is really important for a series. I really want to go out and see this. So, kind of tipping my hand and, there's a lot of reasons that this trailer has got my attention.
Well, there's no going out to see it because it's a TV show. But anyways, Greg Boggis.
First of all, none of those people in that trailer were wearing masks or socially distancing, so I'm really concerned. They try to get people killed here. It's got some of my favorite people. I actually like Hugh Grant as an actor. I find him
He's a great actor.
A great actor and good comedic talent and a nice looking guy. As is Nicole Kidman, who's in one of my favorite New Hampshire-based movies, which is To Die For, right? And she has the look like she's, I don't know, like moments away from throwing a rabbit in a crock pot. So you just know that she's going to be this intense person. And yeah, it definitely has me. Looks well produced. Looks like there's great location shooting and all that. It definitely has me. It definitely looks like something I'd be interested in watching.
It definitely looks like they really shot it in New York too.
Mm.
So I appreciate that. No, Hugh Grant is a very good actor, and he doesn't look bad for his age, but it does look like you look at a film from 20 years ago with Nicole Kidman. What was that film where she played the robot? I feel like, was this really a joke? The step.
She played a robot?
I'm just saying, maybe there was a switch up. I don't know. I'm just saying. So, anyways, I'm gonna give this 2 thumbs up because it looks like it's hitting the mark of what it's supposed to be, a psychological thriller. Kudos to David E. Kelly for making something that is not humorous and very intense looking. And no lawyers really much in this trailer at all. So definitely up for casting, cinematography, the whole 9 yards. So yeah, 2 thumbs up for me. Arnie?
I'm gonna give it 1 solid thumb up and 1 kind of wiggling because I still had no idea what this was about when I was watching. I'm just like, ooh.
All right, absolutely. Mitch Fortier.
It's an easy 2 thumbs up for me. I think it's got a complete trailer that's going to make for an interesting case for a series.
All right. And Greg Boggis, what do you got?
Australia, Great Britain, 2 thumbs up.
Nice.
I just want to say that Hugh Grant, I think he's actually going to get better roles now that he does look older. So he's not going to be just like the love interest. He's actually going to have stuff to do in his movies. Which
No, I agree. No, I think
it'll be
it's
fun
time
to see.
to stretch his acting. I think he's definitely going to be stretching his acting ability from here on out. So, all right, what do we got? What's the next trailer we got up, Arnie?
The next one is Capone.
All right. So, roll that beautiful bean footage.
So Capone is coming out. I think it might already be out. No, May 12th. I don't know what month I'm in now. This is directed and written by.
Doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter.
I think it's gonna snow tonight. I have no idea what's going on anymore. All right, so it's written and directed by Josh Trank, and it stars Tom Hardy and Matt Dillon's in this movie. 47-year-old Al Capone, after 10 years in prison, starts suffering from dementia and comes to be haunted by his violent past.
So I recently found out, because there was a video after I watched the trailer that said, find out 11 things about Capone. I didn't realize how young he died. Like, he died at 47, or 48 years old, he died. His reign was for a very short amount of time. He spent 10 years in prison. He went to prison in his 30s. So, like...
He was not one of the smart gangsters.
Right, and so I found out some more about him and, like, how lost his mind was towards the end. I think it was dementia or something like that he had. So, with that being said, with this trailer, part of me is like, I really like Tom Hardy, but
I think you're going to steal my opening line.
Yeah, well, okay, like, time to play another role other than just pretending to be someone else. Like, I don't know how else to word that. That's what I feel like. I don't
He's an actor, so...
Huh?
He is an actor, so...
No, but like, he's always playing, like, these extreme roles, and he's becoming like a Daniel Day-Lewis of how much is he going to change into this, as opposed to, like, why don't you just play something and try to look like Tom Hardy? And see if Tom Hardy's okay to be an actor in a film, as opposed to like encompassing all this. Because he looks at this point, he looks like Tom Hardy playing Al Capone. And I think Tom Hardy's a great actor. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a great actor, but from this teaser trailer, it didn't really catch my attention. I'm not a huge gangster movie fan really at all. And yeah, this just wasn't doing it for me. So Arnie, your thoughts?
Plastic face. That was my thought. I was just like, why? If you wanted to make a movie about a 47-year-old, why don't you hire a 47-year-old? Looks like Al Capone, instead of getting Tom Hardy and putting plastic makeup on him that looks like it's a little better than what they did in the 1960s Star Trek episode when they all aged. Like,
wow. That's harsher than me.
Yeah, I was like, come on, guys, you can do better. So I looked at the director, and he's the guy that did the 2015 Fantastic Four movie.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, okay, so some of this is starting to make more sense. But that said, I have to say that Tom Hardy, out of all the British actors that are current, has the best American accent, hands down. Like,
oh, he's got a great American. Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he just inhabits an American. When he's playing one, you just buy it. So, like, I want to give him double points for the voice, but oh, please, just somebody get the prosthetics off his head.
Well, he's got that sort of stocky kind of American look and swagger and stuff,
Because he was great in The Revenant. Like, I didn't even know it was Tom Hardy when I was watching The Revenant. It was like...
No, he's a fantastic actor, but at this point, I sort of want to see him play something a little bit more like Tom Hardy. That's my take. Mitch Fortier.
Yeah, so I love period films that talk about real stories, which is, like for the film about Jimmy Hoffa that took 3.5 hours to tell. I was super interested in hearing and looking into the past, essentially, and learning more about this. So that got my attention. It looks really dark, and I mean, I get why they do that, but there's some scenes in it that kind of brighten things up overall. I say dark, I meant like...
Yeah, when he's like crawling over the bodies.
And then so gory and intense in that regards, but I guess that's what it was all about. So if that's indicative of what was really going on, just murder and mayhem, then I'm not terribly interested. But so you're gonna have to taking this with a little bit of a grain of salt. I get the makeup thing. I think they should have done used that makeup artist that did Christian Bale in that presidential film. What was it?
Yep, I know what you mean. Yep.
Crap. Anyways,
Vice. It was Vice.
yes. So because it stood out to me too as looking very awkward, and I wasn't a fan.
Real quick, Jackie Canada says, grateful to have you guys doing the show. Thank you. Really appreciate it. It helps. It means a lot when you guys say that. If you are watching the show, please give it a thumbs up. It really, really helps. So if you guys can give it a thumbs up and give it a share on your Facebook page, I would really, really appreciate it. It helps up. And if you're not subscribed, please make sure to subscribe. So thank you. All right. Anyways, Greg Boggis.
So this far into it's bogus.
Yeah, bogus. Yes.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So every much what you all said. I like Tom Hardy. I like period pieces. Sometimes I like gangster movies, not always. But yeah, I don't know. I think he's supposed to be like riddled with syphilis or something like that in his dying days. So that's melting his brain. The makeup just kind of didn't make it for me. And kind of whatever. I'm still like Robert De Niro with a baseball bat as Al Capone.
He's good. He was good in that role. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah. So maybe not. You know.
Yeah. That thing. You know.
So
the Untouchables. He always.
Yeah. So it didn't really capture me. It definitely looks like something that it's dark. It's whatever. I've seen enough of mobsters with syphilitic brains and all that. I'm like, I've had enough. I've had enough, people.
That comes with my playlist all the time. Hey, my YouTube feed is just all messed up. Okay. I'm just gonna.
That's my YouTube feed right now.
This is really pathetic. Like, I was literally watching Phineas and Ferb before this show got going, so this should really tell you what I.
That's right. You should see my YouTube history list. It's like all like Love Actually and all this like really sappy stuff. You Grant, in his younger years, essentially.
There's intelligent things going on. Terry's like 10 things you didn't know about Batman. What? All right. Anyways, I'm giving 2 thumbs in the middle because it didn't look terrible, but it was nothing special. Arnie?
I'm going to do 1 thumb down because I thought it did kind of look terrible, but 1 thumb in the middle because it's kind of an interesting take, I thought, watching a gangster fall apart, after the fact. That's kind of interesting, but not enough to give you a thumbs up.
Mitch Fortier?
I forgot about the Matt Dillon aspect of things. I continue to want to see him try and grow as an actor. That's a compliment. So I'm 1 thumbs up, but it's wavering just in general, and I'm 1 thumb in the middle, just because it looks pretty gory and what's the word I'm looking for?
Death.
Simple? I don't know.
All right.
Doesn't look deep enough.
All right, Greg.
Yeah, I'm gonna boldly go 2 thumbs down.
Boldly go where people have gone before.
I just don't think I'm gonna watch it.
All right. Anyways, hey, we got to cut the break. We have a special ad for a special performance coming up this Friday night on Facebook Live. And check out this ad. Take it away, and we'll be right back with a special guest, Greg Boggis.
Well met, my friends. Hello, and hi to you. I bear a message of good tidings. True, for though inside we all must safely stay, some few of us still want to romp and play. Great Oberon bids me this missive read. We do invite you, join our revelries. A perfect balm and boredom's remedy, as through enchanted fields and woods we lark, perhaps a grand adventure you will mark. At 8:00 p.m., the 1st of May, we shall debut the Bard's most comic play, with lovers crossed and fairy courts bucco, and perhaps a sprightly trick or 2. So, till we meet again on Friday eve, when our most humble show you doth perceive, stay safe and healthy as you each can do. Now, Puck extends most warm and fond adieu.
I am
She's
cold.
got ice.
I got frostbite in my bones.
You say we're back, Dan? Oh, okay. Hi, welcome back to the Late Night Live Show. We are on every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 on Exeter Channel 98 and on our YouTube channel, the Early Late Night Live Show YouTube channel. If you're watching, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. If you are not watching, where are you? You should be watching right now. So please make sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends and enemies alike. We don't judge, especially in this time. So, well, I'm just kidding. We judge all the time. If you haven't noticed, we all gave up to the last trailer. But we're not going to go to our guest right now because he's an awesome guy. He's Greg Boggis, and he is a comedian. And find out more at gregboggis.com. But what's going on right now with you, Greg? What are you doing?
Yeah, I could tell you all the places I'm not playing.
Oh man, so true.
Yeah, I mean, literally my entire career, what I do for a living has been rolled up and put on a shelf. So it's very strange. I've been doing stand-up for 20 years, and probably the longest I'd been not performing, maybe like 2 weeks, like maybe some kind of every once in a while summer gets a little bit quiet. And now it's just, there's no stand-up. And I think the tough part is that in a lot of regards, it's not really an inspiration to write because of one of the things that inspires you to write is human interaction.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that has been gravely curtailed in this whole COVID-19 era is that, you're supposed to, contact people as little as possible to prevent the spread of this illness.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do, you're wearing one of these, and so you can't even see whether or not you're smiling, So the only thing that, the one thing I did think of while I was at the supermarket, which I try to go, once every other week, was that this is a great time for robbers.
So if you're
Put 'em
looking
up.
for some advice right now, if you're on the unemployed list, Greg is suggesting that you do BEs.
I like the fact you pointed out the COVID-19 era. We're gonna have a COVID era.
Yeah, certainly we're in it.
Yeah, odd times. But But you have got a new show coming out, right?
I do. So it's technically not new. I'd had it on Access Nashua, which is the Nashua cable channel, and I'd done it. I think I'd done it for like a year and a half. I think I probably did it from like 2014 to 2016, and then took a hiatus, and then just started. Literally did the first show with a comic named Kenny Rogerson, who was one of the great comics that came out of Boston back in the day, and a really funny guy. And so I shot one episode with him in the studio, and then the next comic I had, she was sick and she had coughing, dry coughing, and I'm like, well, I guess we're going to cancel this one. So then the next scheduled person was canceled, and then kind of that was the lockdown had begun and the station stopped doing in studio stuff. And so I've shot I think two episodes now via Skype, and I have one scheduled for Friday. So I have begun doing that again, and it is it's still cool and it's still fun, but it's definitely a different feel than being in the studio talking with somebody. You definitely are able to get a little bit more of the the personal responses and things like that, the sweat on their brow, their looks and all that. You're able to read people a little bit more closely when you are literally in relative proximity to them.
Yeah, I know that feeling. You can't throw things at Arnie. You can't, it's really hard. You can't go and scream at the person in the back room and tell him that he's useless.
Have I mentioned that I really like Skyping the show?
Oh, right, yes. But I wouldn't do that to Dan because Dan is the best thing that's happened to narrative film since sliced bread. And sliced bread is pretty awesome, right, Dan? Okay, so answering. Are you still in the air?
Yeah, Dan the man.
Dan the man. So tell me, Greg, what inspired you to become a comic? Where did this all stem from for you?
So I was the youngest of 6 kids. So when you're that, you are, like you're never a threat. You're kind of like the family mascot, and so yeah, and it really is true. And then you become kind of like a peacemaker. You hate seeing people upset. So you're always, not always, but often, right? A large number of youngest end up being stand-up comics, and you kind of, you've been with a lot of adults, so you people older than you, so you're able to have conversation and things like that in a easier way than a lot of other kids. So I love comedy, love the Three Stooges, loved Carol Burnett show, Sanford and Son, all the great TV from the '70s, which was literally all like family events every Saturday. I think was Sanford and Son and Carol Burnett show and Newhart and all in the Family at one point. So all of those really great TV shows were in my life, and a lot of it was great comedy. And so I grew up liking comedy, and then I had a couple of older brothers. One had Cheech and Chong on a cassette tape for me, when I was about 6 or something like that. So hearing about Sister Mary Elephant from Cheech and Chong was just the funniest thing in the world as a kid. And then Steve Martin's kind of blew up, and then suddenly it was like, oh yeah, you can actually do this for a living. And so I had always kind of had that in mind. And then in the late 80s, early 90s, I actually did one open mic in Boston in the late 80s, and then like 4 years later, a buddy of mine broke up with his girlfriend who was living in Somerville and had a room open. And I'm like, I got to do stand-up comedy or I'll go to my grave, regretting it. And so I went down to Boston and started doing stand-up comedy, working, the open mics at the Middle East in Cambridge and Dick Doherty's Comedy Vault, which is now, the mess hall for Emerson College. And pretty relatively early on, I got some decent stage time and I got some chops and people liked me. I was old enough that I wasn't, like a 19-year-old nitwit. I'd kind of been beaten down by life a bit, So I appreciated comedy. There was a guy named Kevin Knox who passed away, one of the best comics in the world. But he would always berate these comics who were like, "Oh, this is terrible." And he's like, "Hey, you're on stage, you're trying to make people laugh. It didn't go that well. You're not digging a ditch, Enjoy life, enjoy the ride." So that's it.
What's the best way to handle a heckler in your experience?
I mean, it depends. Some people just want a little bit of attention. You give them a little bit of attention, and you kind of pat them on the head and set them on their way, and they're good. Other people, they are there to literally ruin the show and kind of do the alpha, walking all over you kind of a thing. And if you have a couple of good arrows in your quiver and you aim straight for the heart or the head or the small wiener, yeah. You can put them in.
Hard target to hit, though.
You can put them out of commission relatively quickly. And I just remember years ago there was a comic named DJ Hazard, and he just had this. He was a big guy, and some guy right off the bat heckles him. He just goes, "What makes you think I'm the kind of guy you want to heckle?" And that was it. It ended it. I guess he's right.
Hey, Greg, do you remember one of the first times we met was in a voiceover audition somewhere in Boston, I think Cambridge Street, I think. I don't remember
what it was for, but I remember meeting you.
You do remember that, yeah. It was for a energy company.
Okay. Yes, I do know. Yeah, and I almost had it. They called me, and they never call you unless you got it. And like, are you open? The next day, and I'm like, yes. And they call the next day, and like, yeah, you didn't get it. I'm like, oh. And that's happened to me twice.
That sucks.
Another time, I got a call from a casting director, like after I'd been through like 3 different, castings, and it was down to me and 2 other guys. And she called me the next day. I'm like, I got it. And she says, I'm calling you because you didn't get it. I'm like, oh.
That was my first ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, now I have a booth, and now I have a booth in my apartment, and I can do my own auditions from here. So, but anyways, I was hoping you'd remember. It was good seeing you there.
Greg, I gotta ask you this, okay? So, I'm only asking if it's appropriate for television, but it doesn't have to be yours. But what is one of your favorite jokes of all time?
Oh gosh, I think there's too many. But one of my favorite things is the pool scene in Caddyshack. So it's not a joke, but it's one of my, like, somebody asked, like, what is one of the funniest things that you can ever remember seeing? And I think that's the pool scene with Bill Murray and the candy bar. It's just one of those. It's probably like 5 minutes of just, gut belly laughter. My jokes, I don't know. I'm not conceited enough to have one of my favorite jokes. Yeah. So that
Do you have a
that
joke?
pool scene.
And I know Bob Newhart. I'm a big fan of Bob Newhart stand-up. Matter of fact, it was funny because me and Arnie were actually born in the 1950s, and we got transported here by a DeLorean in like the 1980s. So we actually did grow up watching the Carol Burnett show and the Dean Martin show.
Oh, yes.
All those variety shows. But what was that thing Carol Burnett always did at the end of her? Yeah.
I think it was a signal to her mother.
Yes.
Hey, Mom. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And my mom passed away. So, and like I do this thing. I did it at the end of like all the videos I do. That. And I did it one time because I didn't know how to end the video. And then the guy I was doing the video with got really annoyed by it, and so I've done it every single time since. But do you have a joke that you think was really hilarious and the audience never laughs at it, but you keep doing it anyways?
Generally not, because I'm not one of those gluttons that does stuff for myself and like digs a hole. Because I seek approval as a comic. In general, you seek approval. There's some guys, performers, that they don't necessarily seek approval. They seek to like dominate the crowd and to pull them along and to kind of browbeat them into enjoying what they're doing. Sometimes it works. Other times people just don't like you because you're being like overbearing. So I generally, like, if I do something 3 times, 4 times, it doesn't work. I'm like, obviously it's not going to work. Every once in a while, something will happen, and a bit you've had can come up circumstantially in a show, and you can then pull it out, and it may work. But I'm one of those ones that if something doesn't work, I'm like, it's out of here.
Well, that's what me and you differ. If something doesn't work, I just keep going at it until all is lost.
Some people call it hope. Some people call it something else.
It's Greg Boggis. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Stick around for the rest of the show, I hope.
I am.
Yeah, awesome. Great. Once you start getting more gigs in, make sure you send the information our way so we can start sharing it. I gotta take a moment to say, Arnie, are you bored right now?
No, why?
Now I know you're cold, but I don't know how fast you can crochet yourself a sweater.
I'm technically knitting. And it's a scarf. I figure I can get it done by tonight.
To all the single guys out there or lonely men, if you're looking for a woman who's cold all the time and knows how to knit, Arnie's email address is right below. You may have heard that she's Arnie's the type of person that chases a lot of tail, but that's usually just bunnies. So, I'm just saying. Anyways, we're coming to break. When we come back, we're gonna be doing the next thing we're doing, which I forget what it is. Anyway.
News, just for the record.
Oh, news, right.
Yeah.
News.
Hey, Terry, are we doing recommendations for showing?
We got no breaks.
Are we still in the air, Dan? Roll the puck ad, Dan. Good thing.
Well met, my friends. Hello, and hi to you. I bear a message of good tidings. True, for though inside we all must safely stay, some few of us still want to romp and play. Great Oberon bids me this missive read. We do invite you, join our revelries. A perfect balm and boredom's remedy, as through enchanted fields and woods we lark, perhaps a grand adventure you will mark. At 8:00 p.m., the 1st of May, we shall debut the Bard's most comic play, with lovers crossed and fairy courts bucco, and perhaps a sprightly trick or two. So, till we meet again on Friday Eve, when our most humble show you doth perceive, stay safe and healthy as you each can do. Now, Puck extends most warm and fond adieu.
All right. So my interesting thing. Oh, we're not doing that this week. Never mind. Okay. Welcome back to the Early Late Night Live Show on every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 on Exeter Channel 98 in Berwick, Maine, and on our YouTube channel, the Early Late Night Live Show YouTube channel. That is A Midsummer's Night Dream. That is going to be on Facebook from Abby Normal Productions and Facebook Live this Friday night at 8 p.m. Make sure you share and check it out because Arnie is going to be performing her first Shakespearean play. So, but it may still be good anyways. All right. All right. It's the news section with Mitch Fortier.
Oh no, and I'm not ready. Boo.
Oh.
Mitch.
Just kidding. Oh, it is open. That's weird.
Mitch, do you have the news?
Technical difficulties. All right. I'm not the only one.
Yes. No.
So Daniel Day-Lewis turned 63 today.
Oh wow.
Along with some pretty interesting company. Uma Thurman, who turned 50. Jerry Seinfeld turned 66. And Michelle Pfeiffer turned 62. But
62? Oh, man.
yeah, I didn't realize Jerry Seinfeld, Bob, comedian. Hey, look at that. And make that connection till just now.
I can't believe I'm so old.
So the Oscars, CNN reported that the Oscars and the Academy have decided to make one-time exceptions for nominations of online releases, which is something that they have never done. And up to this point, they've gotten a lot of pressure from Netflix over the recent years because they've had so many really good films come out. But of course, under certain circumstances or these current, conditions, they've a lot of movies have had to cancel their releases. So they released online, even though they had a theatrical release date, and they're making exceptions at least for those films that had release dates scheduled. I don't know about some of the others that maybe had not solidified, but nonetheless. They're making exceptions this year, so it could be. But they say that they're committed to promoting theater films.
Right. So this is like limited, I think, right? Like it's a limited time change.
Just this year, at this point, right, or the current circumstances, so theaters can rest easy that the Academy is not going to be pushing for online releases, and theaters will still get their openings, which. Is another story altogether, which I kind of started digging into. But theater releases are turning out to be a pretty good move still. So,
real quick question, Greg. What are you drinking?
It's I couldn't find any bleach. It's what is it called? Aha.
Oh.
It's like watermelon and lemon or something.
Okay, all right.
It's like
really tasty. That's all I was.
It is. It's kind of like a seltzer water. It's not a booze.
All right. Sorry, Mitch. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Hey, Greg, just because I was sitting on my desk, I don't know if you can see this. Do you know Bob Marley, the comedian from Maine?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
So I saw him up in Maine. Busted Stitches. Of course, I had a few drinks in me, so. That always makes things a little bit easier, right?
Sure.
To laugh at. But he's such a great local material comedian for Maine that if anybody from Maine or that area gets to see him, I'd recommend it.
Very much so. Yeah, and if you see the movie The Boondock Saints, just know that I'm in the opening scene in the church, in one of the pews. Yeah. So
cool.
when most of it was shot in Toronto, but that scene was right around Copley Square, and he called all the comics. And I used to be a regular at the Portland Comedy Connection, so there's probably like 25 comics sitting in that. So I'm like, hey, there's my bald spot, there's my ratty suit. That's me.
Oh yeah, sorry to all of our viewers. I haven't been posting links about what it is I'm talking about, but I do have the capability to do that, so I'm going to do that here as I go along. But yeah, this. Oh, hold on. This one's birthdays. I can do this. This is actually kind of fun being able to do this at the same time, but it's tricky.
Yeah. Once you can start doing that and knit at the same time, then you'll be a really popular host.
I can knit my eyebrows, but that's about it. So I was going to share something with you guys. Well, it wasn't really share anything with you in particular. Just so somebody has edited all 9, or at least 9 in the 3 trilogies of Star Wars movies to run simultaneously on one screen in 9 different boxes.
Yikes.
So I started watching it, and with extreme anticipation as to what this experience was going to be like.
Okay.
And then I'm like, I got to sit down and watch some more of this. And I mean, I watched like, a minute and a half, but essentially watched the scrolling title go by, and that was pretty much it. But I'm like, all right, I'm hooked. So I went in and the next day to go and check it out, and it's gone. It's been removed. So the story that I'm talking about, I'll see if I have the link for it. I'll post it at some point. Anyways, it's gone, and they've taken it down. It's been copyright, probably somebody reported it, and so forth. But there are other films out there, or other versions like this for the 6, the previous 6, or the first 6. Anyway, so that kind of got me playing around with Star Wars stuff. And then I came and looking around for it, and I kept finding ranking sites and things like that. But of our audience and or the people here, how many people have heard of Caravan of Courage?
Never heard
About,
Familiar, but I don't know where I heard it before.
how about Ewoks Battle for Endor?
That sounds familiar.
That sounds familiar, yes.
So these are 2 TV films made by Industrial Light and Magic and the George Lucas Studios that I'd never heard of until today or the other day when I was looking at this stuff. And they're as bad as you probably would think they are. If you've ever seen the Star Wars Holiday Special, it's
Saw it live.
it's like that. It was not live, but there's this one girl. Her name's Aubrey Miller, who's the little girl in these 2 films, and it's the only 2 films on her IMDb page. Like, she has no other credits in the last 40 years, which just blew my mind because I don't know. She looked like she had a kind of a look about her, and to do 2 Star Wars films at the time when '85. I mean. That was the trilogy which had been released, right? So anyway, I thought that was interesting. There's a rankings of the Star Wars films that I thought was kind of interesting that I'll post a link for. And
Does it include those 2?
one of them does actually. I think the ranking that I have, it actually includes Clone Wars, the animated film, which I haven't seen yet. So I'm like, what the hell am I doing with my life? I haven't seen all of these films. So what kind of Star Wars fan am I? But
What are you doing, Mitch? You dressed up.
I don't know.
Not drinking watermelon juice. You're not knitting, and you don't have green tea. So I don't know. Like,
I have seltzer.
You're missing out on life, Mitch.
Chocolate milk until it was gone. It's not really chocolate milk, but that's just what the kids drink. So yeah, I guess so that was pretty much the news. There's one little bit of information about.
I got some news too. So unless you
Oh,
drop
yes.
it now, so.
Oh, cool. Well, you know what? If you want to see what's happening in the world outside, that because everybody's home inside, you can go to the link I'm about to post and look at the playground in Monmouthshire, Wales, and see how the goats are taking over the world and playing in the playgrounds and using the seesaws and the merry-go-rounds. It's quite funny.
Terry, look at your face. I don't know if it's frozen or not.
I think I'm getting a phone call right now.
It's just frozen up
Yeah,
like this.
and on that look.
There we go.
There we go.
I am back.
Funny.
Oh, that's awesome. So,
anyways, Arnie, what do you got for news?
so Netflix has found a way to still produce content. The woman who's the showrunner, and I can't remember her name, I should have prepared, for Orange is the New Black, is producing a show about social distancing. So everybody's doing it in their own apartment. The director's in her own apartment. Everybody is in their own apartment, and the actors are filming themselves in their own apartments. So, and this show is going to come out in the next few weeks, but it's about social distancing. It's being produced as we speak.
Wow. Okay.
Netflix is really jumping on like everything.
All right. Well, I want us to get to our recommendations for this week.
Okay.
Film recommendations that we have. And I'm going to start off by saying I recently watched the film Extraction, starring Chris Hemsworth. The film I gave 2 solid thumbs up for. It is available on Netflix. It is definitely worth 2 thumbs up. It gives a flashback to some great action films from the 90s. It is gritty. I tell you, he is giving John Wick a run for his money in the delivery of action in this film. The story is really good, though. Along with that, I thought it had a good emotional story involved in it. So I would highly recommend that. Arnie, are you distracted by something back there?
I'm going to get my recommendation. I just found it on the shelf. Hang on one second.
I think I'm getting another phone call, too. So, Arnie, go for it.
Hang on one second. Have Mitch do his. Then we'll pull mine out.
Okay, Greg, go ahead.
Two, I actually watched this. It was a series, Plot Against America. It was on Netflix, and it was pretty good. And it was about an alternative history when Franklin Roosevelt loses to Charles Lindbergh, and Lindbergh is sympathetic to Nazis and Nazism, and it follows the travails of a Jewish family in Jersey, I believe, and how they deal with that. And my throwback one would be Soylent Green, which is a great early 70s apocalyptic film with Charlton Heston. I think it was Edward G. Robinson's last film. And it's very, very good and has a very classic kind of a shock ending.
All right. Okay, and Arnie, do you have a film recommendation now?
I do. So, Terry, you were talking to me about Disney Plus, and that reminded me of one of my now favorite movies, because I think you just watched it the other day, but it's a Bullwhip Griffin.
Bullwhip Griffin, yes.
It's the Bullwhip Griffin. See, Roddy McDowall is my favorite bad guy of pretty much all time. And he plays a hero in this really dumb Disney movie, but it's amazing. So definitely check it out. He plays a proper Boston butler who goes out west to the gold rush, because it's a Disney movie and why not? And it's amazing. It doesn't really end off that well, but it's great.
Definitely worth the watch. Definitely a lot of fun. And Mitch Fortier, what have you got?
So I'm going to talk a little bit about a Netflix series that I came across called Afterlife. It's a Ricky Gervais production, essentially. And if you like his type of humor, which I do, then he's got a bunch of stuff out there. There's extras, for example. For those in the acting world, extras is actually kind of an interesting and funny look as to, behind the scenes.
Series, yeah. Very good.
And then Afterlife is completely different but it has 2 of the same cast members, Ricky and then Diane Morgan, and I love their chemistry. And this is about Ricky. It's about a guy named Tony whose wife passed away, and he can't. He's got videos of her that he watches, and they open up the show with her talking to him about what she wants him for his life and things like that. And the first season was great to create this opportunity for something greater, and it was really interesting and funny and cute and British. But I'm hearing negative things about season 2, so I'm a little nervous that experience will be over. But Afterlife season 1, anyways, it was an interesting foundation to build on. It's really human nature based, and gets into the finer emotions of relationship and loss and things like that.
His other show, Derek, which I think is also on Netflix, is the
yes.
same thing. It's really funny. it's rude, like British rude, but it made me cry every single episode, like in a good way. like, oh, that's so sweet. So that's also a good Ricky Gervais show if anyone's
Cool.
So,
He's prolific.
yeah,
All right,
yeah,
folks.
yes.
All right, folks. It is 8:00. So we do have to start winding down the show because we're gonna go off the air on TV around in a minute or two, anyways. So we gotta make sure that even though we started late, that we end on time. Tonight, Greg Boggis. Why do I always say Boggis? But you're bogus, Greg Boggis. Thank you so much for having us on the show. I can't wait to have you back on the show once we have a studio, and I'd love to hear more about your other TV show. KJ, you're still here.
I am.
Mitch Fortier, thank you as always. Thank you to Dan Graham for making this show happen, because it really was just about didn't happen tonight if it wasn't for Dan Graham.
Yeah, nice work, Dan.
Thank you to everyone in the YouTube group. Ani, who do we have on show for next week?
We have author Tim Baird. I think I said that right.
All right. Look forward to having him on the show. Folks, make sure you stay safe. Keep your hands clean. Give our show a thumbs up. Subscribe and share with your friends and enemies alike. And we will see you next week. We're out of here.
Hey, thanks for watching the Early Late Night Live Show. We are on every Wednesday night live at Exeter Studios in Exeter, New Hampshire, 7 p.m. every Wednesday night. Please make sure to join us next week for more entertainment, comedy, and information that is probably not that important or timely, but no sports or no politics, so there's that. To find out more about my film company, make sure to check out NarrowStreetFilms.com. To find out more about Killarney's writing, make sure you check out KillarneyTraynor.com. To find out more about Mitch and his acting, I'm sure he's got a website. I keep forgetting the name of it. I'll write it down here. To find out more about the wonderful studio that we produce at Exeter Studio, go to exeternh.tv. They're a great studio, and they're doing a lot of cool things. But please make sure to like us on Facebook, and please, please, please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell and like, and make sure that you share with your friends and enemies alike, because we don't judge that much. See you next week.